Hey, Salaam guys, peace. This is Waqar. I'm a friend of Yasser's, the owner of Muslim Duelist. He asked me to make a deck profile, and so today I'm going to show you a budget Dark World build. It's pretty cheap, it shouldn't cost you that much to make, so let's get started with the monsters. So first off, 3 Graphas. Fantastic card. I mean, you can't have a Dark World deck without 3, so don't run any less than 3. Next up are Snow. You can use them to scout anything pretty much. Any Graphas, any Dark World cards. Run no less than 3, these are essential as well. Next are 3 Brows. You discard them, you get another draw. They seem very pointless to me at first, and if you're new to Dark Worlds, you might not understand the point of them. But draw power is literally everything in a Dark World deck. And plus, when you discard them, they give you food for gates, so that's another definite plus. Next would be 2 Beige. You could probably get off with running 1, but I run 2 just for the safe side. Beige in this deck is used for spamming Grapha. I mean, if you have 2 Graphas in your deck, normal summon this one of them, 1 Beige, bounce it back for Grapha. Use discard outlet to discard the same Beige and get another Grapha. It's basically used for spamming Grapha, and like I said, you can run 1 if you want, but I just run 2, so it's just a preference. Next are Tranched Archfiends. These great card, great addition to a Dark World deck. I prefer these over Fabled Raven. I mean, again, it's just a self-preference, but I mean, this effect is great. 1500 attack, you discard 1 Fiend-type monster from your hand. This gains 500 for the turn. Then you get the effect of the Dark World card that was discarded. And when this card is removed, was sent to the graveyard, take 1 Fiend monster, no, 1 Dark banished monster and add it to your hand. So it's great for recovering your Dark Worlds that you banished using gates, or if your opponent banished something using bottomless or something. But you could probably run 3 of these if you want. Like I said, it's just a self-preference. I recently took one of these out. I'll show you what it was for later. But it's definitely a great card. I would definitely consider running those. Next up are 2 of the Lords. 1 gold, 1 silver. Usually just a preference as well. I run 2 of these with 2 Tranched Archfiends pretty much, because Tranched Archfiends are great when you have both of these in your hand. Use Tranched Archfiends effect, it gets boosted 2000, and plus you summon a Lord. It works pretty well. I wouldn't really run too many of these. I'd say tops like 3 total, not 3 of each, like 3 total of these 3. Simply because they end up being dead draws at many times if you don't have any discard outlets. Like at least with Silva, Brow, and Snow, you can bounce for Grapha, but these you can't just normal summon them unless you have a monster on the field. Next, and the last monster card is Malefic Stardust Dragon. This is what I replaced another Tranched Archfiend for. Malefic Stardust, in my opinion, wasn't very popular before YCS Long Beach, I think, when the Dark World won first place, I believe. I tried it out, it actually works pretty well. The point of it is to keep your opponent from destroying your field spell. In this case, it's gates. So it gives you a constant discard outlet. It works even better when you have a Grapha on the field at the same time. So your opponent has the option, I mean, if they don't have anything that's stronger than Grapha, they have the option of either killing this and letting you attack with Grapha next turn, or leaving this on the field and having you keep your discard outlet. I mean, so it's a pretty win-win for you in most situations. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, the downside to this card is, you know, your other monsters won't be able to attack, and Skill Drain kind of takes away the effect. But I mean, if you need to use Skill Drain, if this served its purpose and kept gates on the field long enough, you might as well just use Skill Drain. Again, this is your preference how you play, but it definitely works really well in this deck. The guy who thought of this first place worked out very well. I would not have thought of that. So next spell, 3 gates, self-explanatory. I would not run any less than 3. Next up are Dark World Dealings. Some people don't like running them. At first, when I first got in Dark World, I didn't know why people would run them. It gives your opponents a +1. But if you think about it in this way, you get a +1, your opponent gets a +1. So that's a -1 for you. But you still get your Dark World discard. So that's another +1. So it's basically a +1 overall. +1, -1, +1 for you. And again, you can scout for this using Snow, so that's great. Same with gates, you can scout for it using Snow. Next up are 3 Drag Downs. Most people don't like running 3 simply because, I don't know, you need to have a hand in order to play this. If this is the only card in your hand, you can't play it. Same with your opponent. Your opponent has to have at least one card in their hand for you to play a drag. Another thing I don't like about drag is drawing multiple ones at the same time. It's kind of annoying, but remember, these are normal spells. You can set them one turn and then play them the same exact turn after setting them. So if you have, like, say 3 and you have a monster, just set these, play this, and then you can play this if you draw into something else that you need to use it for. They're pretty good. They give your opponent a draw as well, just like Dark World dealings, but in this Dark World deck, hand disruption is very important. Next up are staples, 2 MSTs. You can get off with 1, but I like 2, simply because. Next up, card destruction, simply because it's pretty self-explanatory. Try not to use this to get rid of your hand completely. I mean, it's situational sometimes, but I definitely use it. I mean, who wouldn't in a Dark World deck? Next is Allure. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like I said before, draw power is everything in this deck. So Allure is definitely important. Next up, Primo Staples, Dark Hole, Heavy, Monster Reborn. One thing I have to point out in this deck is that Heavy Storm is not that great in these Dark World decks. The point is because you draw very quickly with this setup. You have plenty of draw power. You get out gates pretty quickly. You don't want to heavy your gates. So you can replace this with an MST if you'd like. I know plenty of people do. It works just as well, I think. If anything, I would just side this, which I think I'm eventually going to do anyways. Next is a Foolish Burial. This is great for dumping your Grapha straight in your graveyard. Once you do that, you can just bounce it with a beige or something. It's basically a free Grapha, and if you don't have a Grapha, then this is just Gates food. I mean, just dump something from your deck into your graveyard, then activate Gates if you don't have any monsters in your graveyard. Next, or perhaps, I run 3 Reckless Greeds. I definitely recommend you run these. Either run 0 or run 3. Don't run 2 or 1. That's pretty pointless. They work really well. I mean, they don't. Keep in mind they don't stack. So if you activate 2 at the same time, like you activate this, you chain this, you'll draw 4 cards total, but you'll only miss 4 or 2 of your draw phases. And this deck again has plenty of draw power. So I mean, skipping 2 draw phases won't be that bad if you have Gates in your hand or on the field and you can protect it, or if you have Dark World dealings or something of the sort. And if you draw into another one, you can always just set it down, activate it during your opponent's turn, and that way you'll only end up missing 3 of your draw phases. Because, like I said, they don't stack, they just overlap. Next, I run 2 Torrentals, simply because in this meta, there's a lot of special summoning in this format, so I think this works rather well. I mean, I play a lot against some Chaos Dragons players. They get rocked by these. Just Torrental into whatever. Also, keep in mind you can Torrental into your own Trance Archfiend. Just getting back something, clearing the field, getting back something that was banished, summoning that, or something of the sort. I think they work great. Again, this is a self-preference again. The second and last one, Deck Devastation Virus. This is great against the current meta. It destroys Insectors, it destroys Wind-Ups, anything with low-level Synchros. I mean, you don't see plants anymore, so that's not really that big of an issue in this format, but this destroys most Synchro summoning decks, so that's pretty great. The last card in my deck is Skill Drain. Skill Drain is great in the current format. It rocks the meta. You don't need the Skill Drain is only active on the field. It only negates the effects of the monster on the field. And since Dark World cards, their effects activate in the graveyard, they're not affected by it. So this works great with Dark World decks. Now that's 40 cards. And if you're a type of person that likes to go over 40, I recommend you don't. But I mean, that's just you. It definitely works a lot better with 40 cards. A point I'd like to make is that Solemn Judgment and Solemn Warnings, I would definitely run one of each, personally. I just can't get my hands on any of them at this time. Don't run too many though. Don't run a full Solemn Brigade with like 2 warnings, 1 Solemn Judgment, like Skill Drain or 2 Skill Drains, because that is destroying your life points, and you won't be able to take that many attacks. I forgot my extra deck, 1 Stardust Dragon for the Malefic Stardust. I'll probably add another Stardust into here later. You'll see why when you go through my side deck. Now this side deck is not yet complete. I think I only have 13 cards. First start off is Dark World Lightning, simply because I play a lot of people that play a lot of defensive monsters. Darkness Neosphere. This is only because in my side deck because it looks cool. I thought it would work really well in Dark World decks at first, but not really. It's more or less a dead draw. I mean, if I need to really go against a deck that has with a monster that has high attack, this has 4,000. I might just side this in, but I don't see myself using this anytime soon, especially in the meta. I mean, if you're playing against friends that like to use interesting decks, then yeah, sure, it might work. xlJINN is next. Again, this rocks the current meta, the current format. I would definitely at least main 1 and side 1. If you want to main 2, side 1, or just main 2, go for it. It's definitely not a bad idea. But again, don't run that with a full Salaam Brigade. Next is Mind Crush. If you can't really play aggressively because your opponent runs like Trags or Gores or something, this is great. Again, hand disruption and draw power is what this Dark World deck is about. Next, Deck Devi. Again, I already explained this. This is the Transtar Fiend. This isn't more of a side deck, it's just off to the side because I just replaced this with Stardust. Next are Starlight Road, to protect your back row pretty much. Like I said, this is probably what I'll get the other Stardust for later. MST, simply, if someone's running too many traps or something. 2 Compulsories, these are great. You can bounce back your Grapha, bounce and reuse its effect, or bounce your opponent's monster. It's pretty versatile in this deck. And the last 2 are Vanity's Emptiness. I don't really see myself using these that much in this deck, as much as I do in the other ones, but they're pretty nice. If your opponent has a lot of special summoning, you could probably stall them out for a while if you already have some good cards. I've won a game before on Duel Network by just activating this after I summoned some strong monsters, so my opponent was pretty confident until I activated a Vanity's Emptiness and just scooped. Let's see if I could just throw in a few more cards to complete this side deck. I don't know where my team went. Alright, so just a few comments. This deck is very, very cheap. The most expensive card in this deck is probably Stardust Dragon or Drag Down into the Grave. Drag Down you could probably find for $5 to $8 a piece. You could probably find it cheaper if you look hard enough on eBay. But yeah, this is a pretty decent deck and it works well. Great draw power. Like I said before, if you can get your hands on Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, I definitely put those in. You can also try Upstart Goblins. I've tried those. I personally don't like them, but they make your deck a lot faster in my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to comment down here. I'll leave my channel link in the description. Just send me a message, just leave a comment on here, and I'll get back to you if you need any help. If you're starting off new as a Dark World player, let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Yeah, I'll leave my Duel Network name here too in the description. If you ever want to duel or just hit me up for help or anything on it, just let me know. Alright, peace. Salaam.